So in this video, we are going to be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are now on episode 36 of the series, and in the last episode we saw the beginning of the Great Depression. Over in India, the stock market collapsed. India has been centralizing themselves as the main economy of the world, and it was going pretty well for them up until their stock market crashed. And like I just said, that will be leading us into the Great Depression. We also saw some more decolonisation take place throughout the world, which we will be focusing on again in this episode. If you do end up enjoying this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. So the very first thing we need to talk about is the effect of this depression. All around the world, the economic state, which was already pretty bad, has now just reached a new low. The Great Depression in this timeline is even worse than the one in ours, so yeah, a lot of countries are really taking big hits from this. Specifically, a lot of European countries aren't doing too well. A lot of these Asian countries too. Very much specifically these Central Asian ones, they were already struggling. And also, quite interestingly, Indonesia takes a very big hit from this. Now, the very first thing we will see this causing is something that has kind of been happening for a while, and that is going to be over in the English colony. The English are hit by this very hard, and their colonies up here that were already getting independence rapidly. You know, a few episodes ago it looked like this, and now it's shrunk all the way down to this. The rest of this colony, for the most part, will be getting their independence. And that is going to be this very big portion of the colony right over here. And with that, the English colony is reduced all the way down to its core lands. But one very interesting thing that this Great Depression is also going to cause is rapid governmental change, as radicalism steps up to these countries, and radical people say that they can fix the issues that this is causing. Basically, they're using it as a ploy to radicalize a lot of these countries. And this will be happening slowly over the course of the next few episodes. Now, one example I want to focus on with this is the Irish. Now, the Irish have been a beacon of democracy for a very long time. At one point, they were one of the only democracies in the world. However, this ideology has spread more specifically with some of these American colonies getting independence, although in South America we don't really see this. But the Irish are actually going to experience a attempted government overthrow. And this is actually going to be done by a communist group. So we see a bunch of communists break out in the north of Ireland, and this is in like the poorer area, I guess. The south is a bit more industrialised. And these guys are going to be quickly spreading around. Now, thankfully for the Irish, there is actually going to be someone coming to help them, and that is going to be the English country. The English, not wanting this to happen, they are a very stable monarchist country, as we can see here. They will be sending over a lot of aid to Ireland, and this helps them push the communist rebels back, and eventually Ireland is secured, so crisis averted there. However, some other countries aren't as lucky. Over in Poland, the absolute monarch that has had their royal family be in power for hundreds of years, they kind of get a little too authoritarian, and this causes them to have a communist rebellion. This also influences their sort of ally in Austria to also have a communist rebellion, and all of a sudden, for a lot of these European countries, communism has turned from this, faraway radical ideology that's kind of been in Central Asia to a very prominent threat on their doorstep. Now, that is what we see happening with communists, but there are actually other factions as well. Because the pink team right now is extremely unstable. Ever since kind of getting blasted around a little bit by Volga, they have been in a very precarious state, and this depression, along with some radicals in their country, is going to cause a lot of fascist rebellions to break out. Very unfortunately for the pink team, the fascists seem to be quite popular in the more populated and rich areas of their country. This area over here is kind of just left on their own. And that is actually going to cause something pretty interesting, which we will see in just a second. But the fascists are quickly going to consolidate in the western portion of the country. These guys quickly spread around. Now, these guys are not in the GCL, so they will not be getting any aid, although that aid would probably not support them because right now India is focusing on their own problems. And yes, India is having some problems with this depression. Back over here, these fascists will continue now consolidating all of this southern region of the country, and with fascists taking control in this half of the country, and like I said, with this area being a bit poorer, we actually see communists break out over here. Yeah, that's right. This country is very divided. With this communist faction breaking out over here, they kind of just like break away from the country fully, and the fascists take control of the rest. And if you thought that that would stop the war, you'd be sorely mistaken. Of course, with these two groups being completely opposing ideologies, they are going to start fighting each other. The fascists begin to move into this communist portion, and they kind of just, it's a very messy war going on over here. Central Asia is definitely the least stable area in the whole world at this point. This back and forth is going to continue on for a while until the two groups kind of just sign a white peace, very similar to the Korean War. And let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. And this is what we see happening now. These guys don't have any major cities, so I'm just going to put one down right here. And we can see that the pink team has now been split in two. The next thing I want to focus on is some more decolonization in the Americas. I don't want this all to happen at once, but over the course of a few years as this is happening, a lot more colonies in the Americas are getting their independence, and now it's actually going to be Sweden's turn. Now, Sweden, they have been quite strong for a while. However, recently Sweden has kind of been cracking. Corruption in their government has shown, and a lot of radicals have actually broken out in this country as well. And that is going to lead to the entirety of Sweden's North American colony breaking away. Part of this land, more specifically Greenland, has been a part of Sweden for centuries, so this is a very big blow for them. Now, taking a look at these guys' area, they aren't in the greatest spot, so I imagine they will be heavily relying on trade from other countries to survive, because this isn't the greatest spot. Coming down to Galicia, they continue to lose colonies in their South American land. This is definitely the more unstable bit, and Galicia is really starting to drop here. Like I did show in the last episode, they are no longer the strongest country, and this is only continuing to show. As these three groups break away over here, this guy's colour is a bit too similar to Galicia's. I might change it. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. But these three new countries break away. The green team right up here, the light blue team, and the purple country down here. And Galicia is heavily reduced. Next up, we will be moving over to the Horn of Africa. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of events happening in this video. Now, the Horn of Africa country, or the Somalia country more simply, they are a part of India's alliance, and they are also part of the GCL. However, they find out the same thing that China found out, that India was kind of just using the GCL to weaken the countries in it to help them strengthen themselves. These guys were never really too big of a fan of India anyway. They kind of just joined it because they didn't really want to have any trouble in Arabia. So they will be leaving the Triangle Alliance. Along with this, these guys down here also leave it, as Africa realizes they are kind of just a ploy for India. And the Somalians are then going to go over to the green country and the purple country, and they are going to be proposing something. They will be saying, we are not really doing so well at the minute, and neither are you two. So we would like to propose an African-led economical alliance. Now, this would be the same currency alliance, and it will be known as the East African Alliance, and this will kind of lead to something happening in the future. But with these three countries in coordinates leaving the GCL, this economical alliance is going to be formed, and like I just said, it will be known as the East African Alliance, the East African Economical Pact. I guess I could call it the East African Federation, but that doesn't really make sense. And this alliance is formed just like so. But now we need to move over here to Australia, because the French are struggling. With this whole Great Depression, I've already shown that other countries are losing their colonies, and unfortunately the French aren't exempt from this. And the French are going to be going ahead and releasing a portion of this colony, and that is going to be this purple country right over here, this big Northern Australian team. They are kind of the lesser populated region of France. However, they kind of just want to make it so this colony is easier to manage, so they will be letting these guys go, just like that. But now I need to continue to talk about the GCL. Now, at this point, more and more countries are starting to find out the real meaning behind this alliance, the purposes of it. And this is kind of led when France actually manages to figure this out. And when France finds out, they are actually going to do the rest of this group as solid and tell them about it. So France is going to leave, and this is basically just going to cause this thing to collapse. Korea, Beijing, and a bunch of these North Asian countries up here in the further reaches of India leave it. These two countries which hadn't been receiving help from India leave it as well, and also this guy down here. The green team leaves, they had kind of been forced into it. This orange country and the Caucasian country, who are also in the further outreaches of India, leave. Taiwan leaves. These two countries leave, which is very bad for India, as these had basically just been puppets formed after World War One. This guy over here leaves, which won't be a great decision for them, but I'll talk about that in a second. This country that only just joined it will leave. And with that, the rest of the countries that were forced into this organisation purely because they lost World War One are also going to be leaving it in one declaration, and that is all of these guys over here. And with that, this thing is basically just going to be abolished. And that is going to be the end of the GCL. Basically, this timeline's version of the League of Nations. It was very sketchy, and it just collapsed. But the effect that it has had of kind of weakening and undermining a lot of these Asian countries will be continuing on, as throughout the next few episodes, we will be continuing to see radicalism spread through this region. And for the final event of this video, as I don't want to just jam-pack way too much into this one episode, we're going to be seeing a war taking place. And that is going to be over here in the Middle East. So, this Jordanese kind of country, they just left the GCL, and obviously with it collapsing, they kind of would have had to anyway. But I did say that this wouldn't be a great decision for them. And that is because someone is hungry. The Egyptians, who well, if you remember from World War One, a coup caused them to leave the war, which was funded by an outside power, which I still haven't named. These guys, they are kind of their new king that was put in power in the coup kind of sees himself as somewhat of a religious martyr. He is basically just trying to restore the old glory of Egypt that he sees that Egypt should still be. And he now has a target on his mind. The country that would have most likely been protected by India if the GCL still existed, these guys are now open to fury of Egypt. Well, not really. These guys are now open to invasion by Egypt, and they're going to get absolutely slapped around. Within the first 3 weeks of this war, about half of their country is already lost, about this much. After this major city up here is captured, leading to all of this area to fall, and the Egyptians are then going to be crossing into here, and the Mesopotamians, they kind of just want some free land, so they're going to be jumping on this war at the last moment, and we can go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. And the peace treaty we see here is going to look something like this, a majority of the country going over to Egypt. But that is actually going to be it for this episode. I do hope this episode was enjoyable. I tried to put a lot of lore into this. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. I hope you guys will be looking forward to the rest of the Great Depression and the big event that will be coming after. And yeah, I will see you in the next episode.